hope you're well. Today we are on lesson number 8 and we will be looking at a new piece of music which is called Djembe Jam. So this piece of music uses note C that we played briefly at the end of last lesson. So have a think, see if you can remember what position we played that note in. And it's also going to have a lot of new rhythms. So lots of new things to do today. Let's get our trombones together and we'll get started. Okay, just do a quick check and make sure your trombone has the bell to the left side of the slide, and then we're ready to go. So I have picked a warm-up today that I think will really help with Djembe Jam, our new piece. And I want you to actually start with your trombone out of your hands, so somewhere safely on the floor or on your case, okay? And because we're using note C, which if you answered my previous question and you had to think about what position it is in 6th position, and it requires our arm to stretch out our right arm. So let's put our hands together and stretch our arms in front of us. You can even stretch up to the ceiling. You might stretch your body while you're there. Oh, that feels good. And then relax. Good, and hopefully our arms feel a little bit looser, ready to reach 6th position. The second part of our warm-up, I want us to do on our mouthpiece. So carefully take that out of your trombone. Now, as I said, we'll be learning some new rhythms and they're quite quick. So that means that we are going to have to use our tongue. Remember, think of the sound tu or ta and what happens to your tongue when you say those words or those sounds. Yeah, your tongue should be right to the front on top of your mouth. So I'm going to buzz some copy-back rhythms, which I'm really going to think about my tongue in while I'm doing this, and I want you to copy back. So I'll have 4 beats, 2, 3, 4, and you copy back. Okay, here we go. Think about your embouchure, think about your tongue. 1, 2, mi, fast. Good, well done. The last part of our warm-up will be just revisiting note C. So carefully pick up your trombones. So note C was in 6th position. Let's bring our trombones up to play position and your arms all the way out, and we are looking for this note. Have a go. Good. For me, the C feels very similar to note D, okay? Blow in that same way. If you're feeling like your D is really strong and you're doing well with that note, just move your slide to 6th and do the same thing, okay? So we're thinking of blowing in a straight line, aiming for those candles on the cake. Right, I'm going to put on a click. When I start counting, we will wait till beat 4 to take a breath in through our mouths, and we are going to hold note C for basically as long as you can, okay? So I would like you to aim for at least 4 beats. You might get 8, you might get 12. I'm probably going to go somewhere in the middle, okay? So we'll do it together. So here's our click. Let's get to 6th position when we're our C, so we're ready. And remember, breathe on beat 4. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. again. Give you a second time. So here we go. 6th position. 1, 2, 3. Very good. If you found that your note, stop that. If you found like your note is starting, but then dropping away, then take a bigger breath for me, and like we talked about that cake and the candles, imagine the cake's got further away. So you're really blowing, you're blowing a really long line of air, okay? Like you're blowing down a really long straw, something like that. Let's one last go, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Fantastic. Let's go in rest position, put the slide lock on, and put your trombones down in the safe place for me one more time. We're now going to look at our new rhythms that we will have to play in Djembe Jam. Great, so give yourself a little bit of room. If you can stand up, that would be great, but no problem if not. Have a look at the screen. Today we have just one new rhythm, and they are these notes, the TT. Okay, so you can see they look slightly different because they're joined together. We call that they're beamed together. And here we have 2 beamed together. You will see in Djembe Jam that sometimes we have 4 beamed together. So let's work out how we play those rhythms. I would like you to start by gently marching on the spot, like in time with me. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So imagine we're marching ta, okay? Ta, 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 like that. Brilliant. Next, we're going to add a TT on each ta. T, 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 T. Join in with me. 1, 2, 3, 4. T, 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 T. Good, and stop. Did you notice that there were 2 sounds, 2 TTs for each ta? Okay, that's because a T on its own is worth half of a ta. So if we beam those 2 together, we still have 1 whole beat. We just have 2 sounds in it. So that's how we read our new rhythm, TT. The other thing we have to know before we can fully read Djembe Jam is to know how to identify note C. So let's have a look. Here we have our stave, and we've written the C as a ta this time. Now remember, every note that we have learnt so far has had the circle, like the head of the note, and the lines have gone through that circle, okay? C is a bit different. We call this a space note. So it's fitting in between the space of the 2 lines. So hopefully that will make it nice and easy to recognise, okay? And think about which space it is sat on. It is the second space of the stave. Now remember, we have 3 other notes so far: B flat, D and F. And the C is the note in between our D and our B flat. So they're going up in alphabetical order, B, C, D. And that's how the stave works. So Year 7, this is your first look at Djembe Jam. There is one extra thing I would like you to learn before you start playing it, in case it confuses us as we're learning this piece. And that's this letter here. Now, this letter does not mean this note is an F. You should be able to see it's a D. The F actually stands for a longer word, which is forte. Forte is an Italian word, which means loud. And we often use Italian words in music. So this letter here just means that this is a loud piece. Brilliant, we're all prepared now to start Djembe Jam. So let's start with our Kadai rhythms. So the first thing you might notice is that the lines or the stems of our TTs go in different ways. So on our note C in bar 4, the stem goes up. And on note D, our stem goes down. It does not change anything. It's just a way to help us read notes easier. So the rhythm stays the same. We also have a new type of rest, which is a 2-beat rest, a bit like our 2 notes, but when it's a rest, we are going to go, okay? So that's our longer rest. Brilliant. Let's have a go at saying some of these Kadai rhythms. So we have 4 beats in a bar. Remember, I haven't said this word in a while, but the time signature tells us that at the beginning of our music. And we start with a TT, followed by our Mars, and then a ta, ta, ma, and some moos. And mu. So let's say if we can say that together, okay? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. T, T, ta, ta. Very good. I want you to skip the next line and look at the third line and see if you notice anything. Okay, hopefully you've seen that it's the same, okay? So let's do that one more time. Let's do the third line. 1, 2, 3, 4. T, T, ta, ta. Lovely. Let's go back to the second line. So, again, we start with a TT. We have 2 Mars and we have a ta. So that rhythm, again, is the same. It's the next bar that's different. So here we have our first lot of 4 TTs in a row. And it sounds like this. T, 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 moo. Okay, I'll do that again. T, 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 moo. So let's have a go at that second line. Off we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. T, T, ta, T, 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 T. All right, so a bit harder that one. Let's look at our last line. This is the one that's the most different. So we have a TT, we have a ma, another TT, a ma, and then 4 TTs and a mu. Let's try and say that line together. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. T, 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 T. All right, good. I think we should be getting really good at these rhythms now. So we're going to say the rhythm with the backing track, because we might not play with the backing track today because it's a little bit harder. But let's say if we can say our Kadai rhythms with the music. I'm going to make sure I've got this turned up nice and loud. And here we go. I'll count you in. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. T, T. Ta, ta. T, T. Ta, T, 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 T. T, T. Ta, ta. T, T. T, T. on to saying our note names. Now, we already noticed the rhythm of bars, the first line and the third line are the same. Take a look at the notes for me. Hopefully you can see that the first bar has D's and the next bar has a C, okay? So let's say that line, just like we did, you could clap the rhythm this time. Instead of saying the tar, we will say D or C. And by the way, I didn't mention it before, but Djembe Jam only uses D or C, okay? So you've got a choice of 2 notes. Here we go, first line. 1, 2, 3, 4. D, D. D, C. Good. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. D, D. D, C. Good. Let's go to the second line. What do you notice about the first bar? It is exactly the same. So the first bar of the first 3 lines is the same. D, D, D. And hopefully you've spotted that it changes to C in the following bar. Let's have a go at that. 1, 2, 3, 4. D, D. D, C, 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 C. Very good. Let's skip the third line because we did that one already. It's the same as the first one. And we'll look at the final line. So it moves around a little bit more. We start on D, we change to C, and we go back to D. So let's have a go at saying these note names. 1, 2, 3, 4. D, D, C, C, D, 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 D. Good. Well done. We'll have another chance at that now because we're going to say them again, but this time with our trombones. So pick your trombones back up. And we will be only changing, like I said, between D and C. So the first thing I want you to do is to unlock your slide, bring your trombone to play position and practice this movement without playing. Just practice going D, C. 4th, just after the bell. 6th, arm stretched out. 4th, 6th. Very good. Okay. And I think we should try doing our say and mime with the backing track, okay, to make it a bit fun. We aren't going to play with the backing track, so let's try this part of our practice routine with some music. So keep your trombones with the mouthpiece on your chin and let's give it a go. Get your slide ready in 4th position, year 7. I'll count you in. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. D, D. D, C. D, D. D, C, 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 C. D, D. D, C. D, D. C, C. D, 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 D. Very good. We'll do that one more time. Watch your slide a bit as well this time. Here we go. 3, 4. D, D. D, C. Back to 4. D, D. D, C, 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 C. Back to 4. D, D. D, C. Back to 4. D, D. C, C. D, 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 D. Very good. So as I was shouting out in that second time round, bring your slide back to 4th position for the beginning of each line. Each line starts on D and has a TT. So if you remember that, you'll be 1 step ahead. Right, now it is time for our final section of our practice routine to play. Now I would like you to, well, we won't use the backing track as I said. We will focus on making a really good sound and what we're doing with our slide. So let's practice the first line, D, 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 C, okay? So I'll play and then I'd like you to have a go. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and you do the same after 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very good. Think about what we did at the beginning of our lesson with the buzzing and tonguing. Use your tongue for the tetes. They are quick notes. Let's have a look at the second line where we have the 4 tetes in a row. So we'll definitely need our tongue, okay? So it's similar to the first line. We just have some extra sounds, T, 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 on the 4th bar. So I'll have a go and then you go. 1, 2, 3. Your 10, year 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. Hopefully that went well. Pause the video if you want to do either of those bits again. And lastly, let's have a go at the 4th line. Because the 3rd line we have done. So this is the one that moves a little bit. You don't just go from D to C, you go D to C and back again. We have D, D, C, C, D, 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 D. Have a go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well done. So at this point, year 7, I would advise you to pause the video, keep the music up on the screen and have a go at playing it through a few times. This piece of music will be one that you will be assessed on at the end of term, so it is a good idea to have a practice at your own pace as well as playing with me. Well done, year 7. I hope you enjoyed that new piece and enjoyed playing some quicker rhythms. I think it's a little bit more exciting. So like I said, this piece will be one you will be assessed on. You will also have the option of playing fanfare, so keep both those pieces in mind and practicing. I have one last challenge for you before we go, and that's if between now and your next lesson, so before you watch the next video, see if you can find out what a djembe is. I'll give you a clue. It's an object, it's a thing, and what a jam is. And I mean in the musical sense, of course, not the delicious stuff we put on our toasts. So see if you can find out what djembe and what jam are in music. Fantastic. Put your trombones away carefully and I will see you for our next lesson soon.